writer, director, and producer Mona Fastvold. And actor Amanda Seyfried. Are you hanging in?
Yeah, but it always is.
You're not tired of talking about it.
Well, no, but sometimes you can't get me to shut up. But sometimes when we come in and it's not done yet, it just reminds you. Sometimes you just need a tiny 3-minute reminder of what it was that made this project life affirming, and it is really sad, but. Yeah. But it's a full picture,
yes.
A beautiful full picture.
It takes a moment to let it resonate a little bit.
Yeah, I actually always feel bad that we're anyway, let's talk about it. and I feel
we have a moment of silence as we adjust.
With every movie, you kind of need to process, even if it's a thriller.
It's true.
Well, in the interest of you getting some sleep, we're going to get started now.
Yeah.
So Mona, I'd love to start with you. And I've spoken to you a number of times this season, and I'm so honored to have done that. My question for you is a different one that I've asked before. In terms of casting, what was most important to you when you were assembling this cast, and specifically in this role, which is not an easy role?
Well, first of all, I have to say thank you all for coming out, and thank you for coming and seeing the film. And thank you for the productionist. I knew early on that I wanted Amanda to play this role. We had worked together before, and I could see, I saw all the parts coming together. It was pretty clear to me. It was Brady's idea first, I think. He was like, why don't we just ask Amanda? And I was like,
It's your
hell yeah.
partner and co-writer.
Yes. And you came on board really quickly, actually. I mean, we started working on this a year before shooting. We started working on the role, we started prepping during dance rehearsal, during working on the music and different songs, and just talking about what this character could be and working on the accent. So then after that, it was really building the ensemble around Amanda, which was also easy. I said this yesterday at Q&A, and I'm going to say it again. It was incredibly hard to get the financing for this film. It's really hard.
You did it in a sort of piecemeal fashion.
Yeah, it was one check at the time while shooting. So it's the same budget level as The Brutalist, is 10 million-ish, and then it's shot in 34 days. It's a really tough. Schedule.
You do not choose easy projects.
It was hard. It was really hard. But all the creative partners came on like this. It was just, I asked someone to come on board, and they came on board. So I knew I wanted to work with Thomas and Mackenzie again. We had started working on the project together, and fell apart, and I just was.
She's extraordinary.
Oh, I just love her. She has no false notes. She can do no wrong. And she said to me, I don't know how to dance, I'm not a singer. I was like, it doesn't matter, you're not supposed to be a singer or a dancer, you're just supposed to be a human being who expressing some sort of...
gonna come out.
You're expressing, faith. It's just,
it's just
joy. Worship and joy, and so, but then it turned out she was an incredible dancer. She's such a good mover. Celia Relson-Holler, choreographer, and I were just obsessed with her articulation and her fingers and her movement.
And she comes from an acting family too. Her mother
She
is a
does.
great teacher.
Yeah. She's just so good.
I wish she were here. Let's give Thomas a round of And I always associate her. My very last event before COVID was with her for Jojo Rabbit in this theater. Before everything shut down, so I actually associate this room with her. It's so funny that we're talking about her. So she's extraordinary. But on to Amanda, who is here tonight.
She always seems to be in New Zealand, which is so hard for us.
Oh, she's an incredible performer. So Amanda, congratulations, Golden Globe nomination, and Critics' Choice nomination. So there's a beautiful piece in the New York Times this week that shows some of the movements, and with the choreographer, I thought that was really stunning. And I loved what you said, Amanda. You said, I got to explore all ways of making noise, primal, instinctual, angry, and emotional. And you are obviously a veteran of musicals. But how did this project test you vocally in a unique way? And what sounds and what parts of your vocal skills were you able to showcase that you hadn't before? Because I know a lot of this came from the deepest depths of you.
I wouldn't have ever associated anything that I did with any skill that I thought I had. I think it was just about finding the humanity in the way I sounded. Because when you grow up singing, you're so desperate to hear a pretty sound, and you're so judgmental and devastated when it's not pretty, or not how you want it to sound. I mean, it's different for all of us, but I am very well trained in a lot of ways, but I still have very far to go in terms of what I wanted to hear until this movie. And I the hymns and the things that Daniel and Mona were writing, Daniel Blumberg, the composer, were so rooted in this humanity, in this grief, in this life experience, human experience, and then I realized that I wasn't going to be, was never going to be happy with how I sounded, and it didn't matter either. And so I had to drop that filter that I kept putting on myself.
Was that liberating for you as a singer?
After a while, I mean, it took a while, for sure. And I had a lot of time. I had a good year before we almost a year before we were in the Budapest studio, which is like the third or fourth studio that we had gone into. But those were the days when we were really cementing the sounds that we were going to hear on set when we were shooting it. And so we needed that to be pretty fully realized. But man, it was definitely a journey. I'm on the other end of it, and I'm absolutely liberated. And I don't sound the same anymore, and nor do I.
Do you think this has changed your voice forever?
It's changed my relationship to my voice. I don't know if you guys would hear anything different. Like when I finally do Mamma Mia 3, which happens. I do think I will sound familiar and sound very much like myself, but it's how I feel when I'm singing it. And when Anne Lee sung to feel closer to God and to herself and to her community, and that's how I was able to operate finally.
Incredible. And I'd like to talk a little bit about Celia, who is not here, but your choreographer. And in that same piece, I loved, it was a photo caption quote. She said, the photos that you had looked at for reference, she said, to dance all through the night, not on drugs and not having sex, like, wow. Because I think I'm kind of like, wow, there's a lot of eroticism in these scenes. And I don't personally associate religion with erotic sensory experience, but I will now after this movie. And I want to know how you not only stayed true to the movement and made it look natural and organic, but also made it work for what you needed, Mona, in the frame, because this could go so wide and so broad that it may be hard to shoot. So how did you balance this?
Well, for me, I do associate religion with ecstasy, and I associate sexuality with ecstasy. So there's a meeting point there, and I thought, they're presenting this idea of celibacy. They're selling this idea of celibacy, but it needs to come out somewhere. Right. All of this sexual ecstasy and
we have such a negative association with celibacy that it's like starving of ourselves for this experience.
Well, so when I was researching the Shakers, I was reading, really unlocked something for me when I was reading about these nights and days of just dancing and moving and breathing. And I thought, that's how you kind of could live through that experience, as probably, that's how you could have that outlet for that energy. So I thought, okay, these scenes need to be somewhat erotic. And there need to be sensuality and sexuality in these dance moments. So
and connection with each other.
Yes, and touch. The touch, and then I wanted all of them. I told Thomas, and I said, you should always have your hand on her. You should always there should be a tenderness and a warmth and an intimacy between these characters. It is not this idea of this sort of like stark and held and lack of feeling and lack of sexuality or emotion. Like it's just still be there within you. It's just that you're choosing not to live in that. But I think for the movement, my background is in dance and movement, and I've worked with Celia known her for 20 years, and we worked closely together, so we had a shorthand. And with her, I said, the idea of the movement was that it's always an expression of prayer, and it always has it needs to have specificity to it. Even if when you're dancing for hours and hours and hours, you will start to find patterns, you'll start to find movement that mirrors one another. And this movement, again, it's not dance, it's not supposed to be a fun.
It's supposed to be improv.
Yes, it's improv, but it's improv with very specific purpose. So every single background performer, dancer, actor would have a very specific direction as to what the movement that they could choose from meant, and what movement they could choose to go into repetition of or break. So I think once you direct a room of 200 people and everyone knows what they're doing, and then you have a very specific path and an idea for the camera movement as well, and what that's supposed to convey within that space, then you actually do create a really euphoric energy, because that is 200 people really knowing what they're doing, and we would feel that energy, and it was electric, and the crew at the end of it would feel compelled to.
Is the crew dancing too?
Yes, at times, yes. Because you've been in this room where people are just, and everyone is vocalizing as well. Sometimes in scenes, in large group settings, when you have a lot of background performers, they're just miming. They're not supposed to stomp. They're not supposed to make any noise with their feet or their mouths or anything. This is the opposite. We're saying, you're not screaming, you're not breathing loud enough, I need to hear you.
I did notice that everyone was engaged.
Yes, I have to walk up and say, I see you, and you're important, and you need to make yourself known, and you need to be as committed as she is. So that creates an incredibly electric energy in the room.
Wow, very stunning work, absolutely. Amanda, there's something interesting going on this season with film. And not surprisingly, these are movies directed by women, but Hamnet, The Chronology of Water, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, this film and others, sort of chronicling the horrors of being parent, the loss of parenting, the brutality of parenting, and then in this case, of course, the loss of 4 lives that this poor woman endured. So Amanda, I'm curious, do you think Anne could have gone on this journey without having experienced those losses? Were those losses what drove her to try to understand her place in the world?
I don't think that she would have created a movement and taken these 8 people across the ocean to America unless she had absolutely nothing to lose. I think there's a freedom in that, and I think she also, bless her, just had really no choice but to either fall apart, fall away, die from tremendous grief, which is what seems like the easiest thing to do at that point in my imagination, or to give everything to purpose and to God. And I think that even having been able to have 1 kid, I think she would have devoted her life to that child. And so yeah, I don't see this story ending up this way unless she had been through that kind of hell to find heaven, for sure. I mean, and then she also, she was in prison and she's in heat for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and that'll do a number on you, on her psyche. And she's hallucinates and then becomes the Messiah. It's just, without that experience for her, this movement would not have become what it still is.